much awaited day is upon us. Tomorrow, Tuesday the 5th of December, update 5.2 is coming to Battlefield 5. With it comes a new map in Wake Island, community games, and additional weapons, all set to release later this month. Additionally, of course, we have a massive weapon rebalance, with the majority of weapons getting nerfed quite substantially through increased bullet to kills, resulting in increased time to kills in close quarter, medium range, and even at long range. Further to that, we have a large-scale rebalance of vehicle gameplay and infantry vehicle interactions as regards specifically tanks and anti-tank weaponry. We have changes to visibility and spotting, countless bug fixes, and a number of adjustments to maps and game modes such as Outpost. For those already familiar with the previously published information on the patch, a lot of this won't necessarily be new, but we do have a lot more detail as regards the individual changes, even down to the individual weapons, now that the patch notes have gone live. So strap in for this one, it sure is going to be a bumpy ride. Important to start off with then, some general information on the release dates of the new content. Wake Island, while currently not officially set, is most likely coming on December the 12th, which we know from some in-game messages that temporarily appeared despite not supposing to be. Then we have community games, which won't be coming tomorrow, but does have a current targeted release date of December the 9th. And as regards the new weapons being added with the patch, specifically the BAR, Type 97, Nambu Type 2A, and M3 Grease Gun, in the usual fashions. Those won't of course be coming straight away, but will be part of the usual weekly Tides of War assignments as part of Chapter 5 as that goes on. So, what about those weapon rebalance changes then? We now have more detail than we ever had before, and a pretty good picture of what's going on. Those changes, of course officially not intended to decrease time to kill, at least according to DICE, are very much that. If you're hoping that was actually going to be the case, and you're using anything other than a bolt-action carbine, rifle, or anti-material rifle, I'm afraid I'm about to ruin your day. As we're going to the SMGs then, the close-range SMGs, that is the Swarmy, M1928, MP28, and ZK383 with the right close-quarter focus specializations, you're now looking at a 5 to 13 bullet to kill. That is up from the previous 4 to 8 bullet to kill shared by pretty much all of the SMGs out there. The balanced SMGs, as DICE calls them, that is the ZK383 without its fire rate upgrade, the MP40, Sten, EMP, and Type 100, will be going from the, as previously mentioned, 4 to 8 bullet to kill, or in the case of the Type 100, 5 to 9 bullet to kill, to a new 4 to 11 bullet to kill, or 5 to 12 bullet to kill in the case of the Type 100. The AR SMGs, and again this is a name DICE is giving them, not me, those specifically being the MP34 and MAB38, those will retain largely their performance capabilities at medium-long ranges, going from a previous 4 to 8 bullet to kill to a 5 to 8 bullet to kill, and thus most likely will be some of the best SMGs following this update, clearly superior to a lot of the other competition out there. Then with the assault rifles, every change pretty much is different depending on which weapon you're looking at. While all but the Breda previously had a 4 to 6 bullet to kill, they now all have different bullet to kill values. The Riberol comes in at a 5 to 7 bullet to kill, the STG at a 5 to 8 bullet to kill, the Sturmgewehr at a very high 6 to 9 bullet to kill, and the M1907 SF, according to DICE, is essentially an assault SMG, and thus has pretty much the same damage model as the Swarmy, with a 5 to 13 bullet to kill damage model. As regards the Breda then, it's going from the 4 to 5 bullet to kill it currently sits at to a 5 to 6 bullet to kill, thus being one of the lesser affected assault rifles of the bunch. As regards the LMGs, there's a similar pattern here to what we saw with the ARs. While previously they all performed between a 4 and 6 bullet to kill, depending on which ones we're talking about, they now have different bullet to kill values. The KE7, Bren Gun, and Lewis Gun are going up to a 5 to 8 bullet to kill. The ranged LMGs, that is specifically the Madsen MG, will be going up from a 5 now to a 6 bullet to kill, and the close quarter focused LMGs, that is the LS26 and the FG42, much like the M1907 SF, are now essentially SMGs for the support class, and thus the LS26 will require 4 to 11 bullets, and the FG42 5 to 13. The MMGs have that similar close, medium, long range distinction in their damage models, with the highest fire rate SMGs, that is the close range SMGs, the MG42 and VGO, now needing 5 to 13 bullets, the so-called balanced MMGs in the MG34, S2 and M1922 requiring 6 to 9 bullets to down their targets now, and the ranged MMG in the M1919A6 Browning, now requiring 5 to 8 bullets to kill to take out its target. Onto the semi-automatic rifles. Here the M1 Grand, Karabin 1938, Gewehr 43 and Selbstlader 1916 are going from an all-range 3-shot kill to a 3 to 4-shot kill depending on the range. The MAS 44 and Turner SM Lee are seeing a 1 bullet to kill bump across the board, thus going from a 3 to 4 to a 4 to 5 bullets to kill now. The Gewehr 1.5 and the M1A1 carbine remain largely untouched, with their minimum bullet to kills at 3 and 4 respectively staying unchanged, but their maximum bullets to kill going up slightly from the previous 5 to now 6. And lastly, the AGM-42 actually remains unchanged with a 4 bullet to kill at all ranges, and thus, much like the MAB-38 in the SMG category of weaponry, is likely one of those weapons that's soon to become game-breakingly good, given that it didn't get nerfed into the ground in this patch. As regards the SLRs, I'd love to tell you more, but DICE hasn't really provided us any details other than the fact that there won't be any changes to damage models, instead simply to fire rates and possibly recoil. As regards shotguns, things are quite simple. There's a 1 or 2 meter reduction in their average engagement distance, depending on the shotgun you're talking about. Thus, the 12G automatic now is able to one-shot targets at a distance of 8 meters or less, the M1897 at 9 meters or less, and the drilling at 10 meters or less. With the pistol carbines, much like the self-loading rifles, we frankly don't know too much. DICE is saying there's changes both to the bullet to kills and thus damage models, but also their fire rates to somewhat compensate for it. But beyond that, they haven't given us any detail as regards any of the specific weapons, that is the P08 or of course the C96. Lastly then, the bolt-action carbines, bolt-action rifles and anti-material rifles, which, as I previously mentioned, are remaining unchanged in terms of their fire rates, recoil and damage models. The exception, however, and this applies to all of the weapons we've discussed so far, is in regards to the amount of ammunition your soldier now will be carrying, with pretty much every weapon category now allowing you to carry significantly more ammo with you before needing to resupply. This is somewhat to counteract the effects of attrition and the fact that ammo stations and health stations now have a significantly increased resupply timer. Where you were previously able to resupply from those stations every 20 seconds, you're now actually going to have to wait 45 in order to gain back some of your ammo. Now, for this video, I'm going to be refraining from analyzing the changes in any detail. If you're looking for what is likely the effect of all these changes and what DICE's justification for them are, and if that even matches the likely effects, I'll have my detailed analysis of that linked down below in the usual places. Feel free to check that out. As regards gadgets then, we have a whole host of changes, with the role of both the AT mines, dynamite, Panzerfaust and more being changed and their damage values adjusted. AT mines and dynamites will now be focusing more on actually disabling tanks, with AT mines significantly worse and actually taking out vehicles, with dynamite still relatively effective in terms of its raw damage. As regards the projectile-based weaponry then, the minimum damage values are now generally higher, that is for example when you get a ricochet shot, with normal damage values significantly reduced and critical hits mostly left the same. For example then, if you were to take a Panzerfaust to a medium tank, you could now expect a minimum damage even with a ricochet shot of 8, but you will only be getting 11 damage when hitting your tank normally. But if you manage to get a critical hit, you'll still be netting yourself a solid 25 damage. Similar things apply to the Piat and the AT pistol as well. As regards the Fliegerfaust, it now has an increased range from 300 to 600 meters, only fires 2 salvos instead of 3, has a slight reduction to the distance at which the projectiles will actually detonate, thus requiring more accuracy, but in turn a slightly tighter grouping of the actual bursts. This, alongside a reduced hipfire accuracy, means that overall the Fliegerfaust will be slightly more difficult to use, but in the right hands, probably not any less effective than it currently is. Also, a small note on grenades: if you like throwing them back at your enemy, you'll now be able to do that at greater distances, with the grenades now flying further when you toss them back. S-mines have also seen a substantial redesign. They now have 2 tripwires that are used for detonating and triggering them. They will automatically attach to nearby surfaces. They in turn make them, of course, easier to see, but also more effective at denying a larger area, and in conjunction to balance the fact that they are now easier to see, if you are at full health and standing directly above an S-mine, you will actually now die because it is capable of doing 100 damage. As regards the changes to flares, I'll save those for the actual spotting section of the video, given that they're more appropriately placed there. As regards vehicle changes, we have now separate damage models for rockets and airborne heavy cannons when using them against ground targets and air targets, so you should see improved balance there. Also, the very pesky incendiary bombs have seen a slight reduction in both their damage range from 10 to 9 meters and their burn time from 2 to 1.8 seconds. As regards carrier plane spawns, they will now essentially get rid of any mines on the actual carrier as soon as they do, so there's no more cheeky mining of the American carriers to take out planes. And then we have a whole host of changes as regards attack angles and tank shell rebalances, a topic literally for an entire video on its own, which I've already put out last week. So if you're interested in what is exactly going on with vehicle combat, I'll have that linked in the usual places. Onwards to spotting, visibility and UI then. There is now a new added character lighting option, which allows you to disable or remove soldier rim lighting. Players directly being looked at within 25 meters will now have an icon appear above their head, indicating both their health and their class, and within 10 meters, if an enemy player is in your view, you will have a simple red icon appear above them to indicate their position and help with visibility. It's important to note here that this information isn't shared with the rest of your team, so isn't 3D spotting, but is simply a visual aid for you as individual player to help you identify enemy threats. As regards spotting specifically and flares, you will now be told when you are spotted. Further flares are slightly less effective. You'll now be able to shoot them down for a reward of 50 points. Shooting them down should be a little bit easier as their hitbox has been made a little bit more consistent, and the duration of the spotting flare being up in the sky has been reduced from 30 seconds down to 24, and its radius from 30 meters to 22.5. Also, as regards changes to the minimap, players will now apparently show up as triangles. I'm not sure if that's going to allow us to see the direction they are facing or if this is simply a design choice, and elevation indication on the minimap is now going to be done with scaling and transparency instead of the current system. Thus, if a player is below you on the minimap, they will now have a smaller icon and reduced opacity, while players above you will appear larger. As regards game modes and maps, Aerodome has seen an increase to cover density pretty much across the map, with more trucks, boxes and rocks, so hopefully should be a little bit more enjoyable for those of us who don't like long range sniping or long range tank play. And as regards Outpost, a mode soon to be returning to Battlefield 5, there's a whole host of adjustments being made, with the most notable being the addition of Aerodome, Pacific Storm and Iwo Jima to the map pool, tanks now becoming available when the first team reaches 50% of the needed recruits, and planes only becoming available when 75% of the needed recruits are required. Also, only fighters and not bombers will be available on the European maps of Outpost to somewhat counter that ridiculous bomber meta that previously was the case when the game mode was first available. And upgrades to radio towers will now only be available after a radio tower has successfully been defended by a team for a certain amount of time, meaning that you can't just instantly rush on a point and instantly build a level 3 tower. Those level 3 towers, on the other hand, will have more health and longer bomb timers to now make them slightly more difficult to actually take out, versus, for example, a simple level 1 tower. Then, to round things off, a couple of important bugs and other things that simply don't fit into the existing categories we've discussed so far. As regards the flamethrower, not doing proper damage in the caves of Iwo Jima, that is now fixed. The M19A6 specialization bug, where you couldn't reset those specializations, is now fixed. The M1 Grand has had the missing 2x scope added to it, and a bayonet option via the specialization tree. As regards audio, the kill sound has been somewhat adjusted to make it slightly more Battlefield 1 inspired. There's a reduction to friendly soldier sound, specifically footsteps, while leaving enemy footsteps as they are. That should make pinpointing enemies with audio slightly easier. The M1 Grand's ping should now be audible for all players and not just the ones using it, and there should be overall an improvement to directionality of footstep audio, once more going hand in hand with the reduction to friendly soldier sounds. And lastly, something as regards revives. The previously unrevivable state you would put in when you were killed within 5 seconds of a previous revive now supposedly has been removed, and thus we're going to be able to revive to our heart's content henceforth. That pretty much wraps it up though for update 5.2. Feel free to share your own opinion down below. If you enjoyed the video, rating will be much appreciated. But with all that being said, I'd like to thank you very much for watching, and hope to see you in the next Battlefield 5 video.